Hey, what's up, cash flow hackers? It's Chris. And so this video, I'm going to be going over your net worth statement and how to look at a net worth statement, how to build a net worth statement, and ultimately how, when you understand and go through the perspective of having a net worth statement and kind of how you evaluate it, it helps you think about things in your overall personal financial life completely differently. It helps you view debt in a different way. And I think when you get done watching this, you're going to have a real good understanding about why I have the perspectives that I have about debt, leverage, avoiding debt, utilizing debt in the right way, avoiding the wrong kind of debt, and why I kind of have some tips with people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. It'll make a lot of sense, so make sure you enjoy. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, that way you're notified, because I've got this whole series coming out. Share this out with people. If you know people that need access to information about their personal finances, I'm a big believer there is no freedom in life without financial freedom. And so we need to get people understanding the basic financial principles in life so they can make more educated, more informed, more beneficial decisions for themselves. That's why I'm doing this series. So enjoy. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and we are continuing the money principles series here, this playlist. Today, we're going to be talking about net worth statement and the importance that I should say, of everybody making sure that you do have a net worth statement, that you understand what your net worth is. And the reason this is so important isn't just because you're looking to track what your net worth is. It's because when you understand the concept of net worth and what net worth really is, then you start to really look at debt in from a different perspective completely. And so there's a lot of people out there that believe like all debt is bad. I believe consumer debt is bad, and that high toxic debt is bad. Like high percentage debt is more toxic, where it's like credit card, consumer. If you utilize debt for investing purposes, it can be an extremely beneficial wealth creation vehicle. And so I'm actually going to go to the board really quickly. And so what I want to do is I want to take just a second and talk about like what is a net worth statement. So net worth, as you can see here, is simply assets minus liabilities. That equals your net worth. Now, why is that so important to understand? Because if you think about it, when you think about like what is your when you break down what your net worth is, a lot of people go, okay, well, I have a home. Let's just kind of like look at an example. I have a home, and let's just say that home is worth $500,000, right? But let's say you have a mortgage, right? And let's say that mortgage is $350,000 because maybe you bought it for $450,000. The house has gone up in value. As the house goes up in value, your net worth is going to get better. All these different things, and so that's fantastic. So just if you look at this, your net worth is $150,000, right? But there's, obviously it comes into more, right? Like you have a car, the car, obviously, you're looking at, let's say you have a $50,000 car, but you owe, I don't know, minus what you owe of say you owe 30,000 still, right? So now that means you got a net worth of 20, right? Like that's, the bottom line is, and that's assuming your car's worth 50, not what you bought it for. Because remember, cars are depreciating assets. So you always have to go based on what the depreciation is. Now, what the asset is currently worth, and that will change year in, year out, because that car will become worth less and less and less as time goes on. And so that's important to understand. Now, let's just talk about this, because as you start to understand net worth, now you start to understand and look at debt through a completely different lens. And what I mean by that is like saying, this is where Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman would say, hey, if you got this $500,000 house, the goal of this $500,000 house should be to have it paid off completely, no mortgage. I've done videos on why having a mortgage can be a really good thing, but from a net worth perspective, I think it's really important when you understand like, okay, I don't want consumer debt, because that is draining and stressful, and it puts stress on my finances, and it puts stress on my ability to be able to accomplish my financial goals and objectives. When I look at it from the perspective of utilizing debt as leverage, there's also the other side of the pendulum of that, where you swing too hard, too far, and that's where people who have too much leverage are overly exposed, and when the market goes through cycles, then they take on too much risk and then everything can implode on them, right? And I talk a lot about that in some videos. What I'm talking about here is saying, hey, my goal, I would agree with Dave Ramsey from a net worth perspective, and I would say that, you know, let's just use this example of the $500,000 house. I want you to have the house paid off, right? I want it paid off. Check this out. But I also want you to have a mortgage, right? That's probably a lot of people are looking at this and thinking, how do you have your house paid off and still have a mortgage at the same time? It doesn't make any sense, Chris. My brain can't compute that because that's not how most of the world talks about these sorts of things. Well, here's what I'm talking about. I want to make sure that, and listen, right now, as the day I'm filming this video, the average mortgage rate has hiked. It's jacked up because of inflation, because of the treasury markets and just what's happening. I think the average mortgage rate is about 7% right now. 8 months ago, that was like 3%. It was 3.5% maybe. It was nuts how things have changed so fast. But once again, principles are principles and they're not negotiable. This is just the principles of wealth creation, and people understand this, right? Wealthy people understand this. So when we're talking about this $500,000, let's talk about this again. I want you to have it paid off, but I also want you to have a mortgage. So what does that mean? That means if you have this $500,000 home, I want you to have the equivalent, that house, you have that house paid off when you have $500,000 in a side account. That's guaranteed, and that earns a greater percent of rate that you're paying on the mortgage. So if you can do that on a guaranteed basis, and you can have a system that allows you to do it, because then you are now financially free. Because what does that mean? Your net worth here, right, is if you have a $500,000 mortgage, it's zero, right? Like your net worth is zero because you have this mortgage, you have this liability, and you have the money in a side account. But if I get this up to $650,000, obviously as you pay the mortgage down, it's going to get better and better. Like this example, the bottom line is you're never going to be able to have a $500,000 mortgage on a $500,000 house. Typically, you're going to have to put 20% down, avoid PMI. Maybe you could do an FHA loan, do 3.5% down or something of that nature. There are different programs out there. That's not the point. Because like the bottom line of the $500,000 house, it's probably you're only going to have a mortgage of about $350,000. But let's just use apples to apples, the amount of the mortgage that you would have, right? Like, so I could say, okay, out of that $500,000 house, this is $350 and this is $350, right? So in this situation, let's just talk about it in those terms to keep everything equal, right? So you have out of that $500,000 house that you have a mortgage for $350. Well, as soon as you have $350,000 in a side account, right? Now you're free. And why is that better? Because now a lot of people, and I'll link a video up here right now. You can go check it out. If you want to keep watching this video, you can keep watching it. I'll also put it on the end screen. So that's fantastic. So you can go access it. But it's the most effective way to buy a home. And it goes through all the math of all the different ways. Should you pay cash? Should you do a 15-year mortgage? Should you do a 30-year mortgage? What does it look like to you? And understanding all the moving parts and all the variables behind financing a home one way or the other. Now, I understand people say emotionally, having your house paid for, makes you feel better. Honestly, I don't care about your emotions when it comes to this. I care about optimization of your money, right? And that's what this series is all about. And so what I'm talking about here is from an emotional perspective, if you have a mortgage of $350,000 and then you have enough money in a side account of $350,000, your house is paid off. You leverage a mortgage to help accomplish more, to help your money grow faster, to never interrupt compounding. Your home is a horrible place to save money. So why would you have your house, be a bank? It's not, because if you ever need access to it, you can't tap into it. It's probably one of the greatest assets you're ever gonna have flow through your life. So maximize it. So my idea here is saying, if you understand net worth, and this is the reason I'm going so deep into this, you start to put together your net worth statement. What I want you to do is I just want you to do a T-chart. I literally, that's it. I want you to go assets, all your assets over here, everything you own that's worth anything, and then liabilities. And this is all your debt, right? Whatever you owe on anything. It could be car, mortgage, credit card bills, like any balances, anything. If you owe any taxes, you know, and you're to the IRS, anything that you have going on, it's assets on one side, liabilities on the other. You subtract it out. And so from this perspective, if I have a $350,000 asset right here, and then I have a $350,000 mortgage, what's my liability? What's my net worth? It's zero. But what's better, having my house, if I just had it all over here, like if I had a mortgage and no money in the asset, it just, when you start to realize this, when you do it this way, it's about efficiency. It's about your money growing, and it's about you controlling that money for the cycles of the market. And that's going to help you think about debt in a different way. It's going to help you think about your net worth in a different way, because here's the bottom line. And this is where I think Dave Ramsey gets it wrong. I want you to be debt free, but I want you to be debt free from an assets versus liabilities perspective. I don't want you to be debt free from a perspective of never use debt, because you're not going to find anybody that's worth $10 million or more that's never used debt to accomplish it, period. Whether it's through business or real estate or whatever, doesn't happen. You have to use debt to accomplish anything significant, but you have to do it responsibly. You can't over leverage it. You can't take on too much risk. So you got to find that happy medium, and you got to use debt for production and investment, not consumption. Those are the principles that I think are important. I think people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman just somehow don't think you have the discipline to be able to go and do it the right way. But I believe that if you're educated and you really understand all the moving parts of this, it's your responsibility to become disciplined to actually accomplish and achieve the life that you're after ultimately. So that's it. So I hope that makes sense. That is how to kind of look at your net worth statement, how to create it. It's simple. Build a T-chart, go from there. But overall, understand how looking at your net worth impacts how you look at and view emotionally and tactically your debt. So that's it. If you have any questions, comment in the comment section below. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the bell. That way you're notified every time I launch new videos in this playlist. As always, make sure you share this with people. If you know people that need to learn this stuff, learn about personal finance, please share this out. I would really appreciate it. And that's it. Till next video. Have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.